Okay, everybody, thanks for joining us here at the Zapata Brand Podcast. And today I'm very excited. I have a great guest with you. This guy is an industry leader in coaching and business. He has multiple seven-figure companies, and he also has a book, Un-F Your Business. And yes, the F stands for what you think it does. Right now, I'm going to introduce him as Tom Keenan. He joins us here at the Zapata Brand Podcast. Tommy, how are you?
What's up, brother?
How you doing?
You know, another day, paradise.
Yes. If you could quickly, Tom, to my audience who does not know, if you can just give them up to speed as to who you are and give us like the elevator pitch as to your life and where you are now.
Yeah, born and raised Long Island, New York. Currently 44 years old. Grew up blue collar. Did my thing as a technician, as someone who worked in the field. I came from the car audio business. Loved it for many years. Got to a point where, had a couple businesses. Some worked, some didn't. My second business really started to take off and got to the point where I was like, okay, I see opportunity here, but I don't know how to go capitalize on it. I know how to go do the work. I don't know necessarily how to go grow the business. And at that point, I just went out and started hiring business coaches and consultants to help educate me, elevate me, turn me into a better person, better leader, better father, all that kind of stuff. And that in turn helped grow the company. And then from there, it was like, hey, this is cool. How do I give back to other people who are in the same shoes as me? And that's when the book started coming out. That's when I started, branding myself as an individual a lot harder. I had opportunities at that point to go and speak on stages at live events and whatnot, get in front of people, started podcasting myself. And I was also asked to come on as an executive coach at a coaching company that I was a client at the time. And literally, that's when things really started to change drastically for me. So now at this point in time, it's like, hey, cool. I do all this. I have, things going on. I've got experience in service-based businesses. I've been coaching high-level people now for close to 5, almost 6 years. And it's something that I'm really passionate about and just want to help other people, right? Like my purpose on this planet is to help others succeed in business. And yes, it starts in the business realm, but oftentimes when people come in and start working with us, we kind of dip into the personal side of things as well.
Yeah, and that's, obviously before we got on the air, we did. You're very easy to talk to, and I feel comfortable around you. You have that aura that comes off as someone you can talk to, you can speak with, and someone who's been through it.
Yeah.
So that brings you back to your childhood. Who were you as a kid? Now, why I say this is because I know where you're from. I'm in New Jersey. For some reason, you guys don't like Jersey guys.
No, not at all. It's dirty Jersey, bro.
But I was right across the George Washington Bridge, and we kind of liked it that way, that we can go across that bridge. And you were way out in Long Island, so it took a while to get there anyway.
Yeah, I was a good hour from you at least.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And with traffic, maybe 2.
Yeah, at least 2 with traffic.
So who were you at growing up? Because I love the fact that you started installing stereos.
Yeah.
Now in our area it was Tommy Tunes, and I'm very familiar with that because my brother had the gooseneck equalizer, the subwoofer. He had it all. He took out the back seat of his car.
Yeah.
Couldn't have anybody in the back seat. Not a chick would go with him because he had a speaker in the back.
Yeah.
And had it all like. And you were ahead of your time there. That was a time where that was huge, and in our area, huge. So how did you get into that? And like, how was the trajectory there?
Yeah, so started young, grew up in a blue collar family, middle class America, suburban Long Island. My mom's side of the family is Puerto Rican. My dad's Irish. That's why that.
Oh, Puerto Rican. I'm Puerto Rican too. That's awesome.
There you go, man. Yeah, that's why there's no H in my name. It's Tomas.
Oh shit, that's why. I was wondering.
Yeah,
I thought you were German or something. Okay.
So learn to work hard from that side of the family, if it makes sense, right? Just hard-driven people, wanted to work, hard workers. And my family was in the automotive space. My mom's brothers, my 2 uncles, who pretty much, helped raise me here and there as a kid. They were in the auto body space. They were in the auto repair space, car detailing, all that stuff. Like they were just handy dudes. And I spent a lot of time with them. So growing up, that was the example. It was like, okay, you work hard, you go to work and you use your hands to make money. I wasn't one for school. Like it just never aligned with me. I like to get educated. I like to learn, but I don't do well in a structured school environment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, me too.
And for me, I want to learn what I want to learn, not what you tell me I have to learn. So that's a little bit of a problem when you get into the school environment, right? But anyway, started growing up, evolving, was working on cars as a teenager, 15, 16 with the uncles and whatnot. All right, cool. I got auto body experience. I've got some auto repair experience. I like cars. That stuff's okay. I'm glad I have the skill sets, but I really don't want to do that for a career. And then I was hanging out with this kid who was a bit older than me, driving around town, back in the day, bumping music, driving around to nowhere. That's what we did at 17 years old and whatnot. And this dude was just bumping some music. And I was like, bro, what is this in your car? And we pulled over. He opened the trunk of his car. He had this little Sony amplifier, these two Pioneer 6x9s on the back deck, and like 6x9 wedge boxes, ugly ass carpeted boxes. And looking at it now, I laugh because it was so basic. But at that time, it was like, oh, wow, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Well, that was it. I was hooked. And from that moment forward, I just put all of my effort and energy into learning everything I could about the car stereo industry. And that led into security, and that led into remote starts, that led into accessories and wheels, and like you name it, cars is what we wound up doing. And
if you think about it, back then, not really much internet, not really much. You had to no YouTube. You had to learn either hands-on or like you were doing, reading books and what have you. But you had to be in the trenches to learn that.
That was a challenge, and it definitely delayed or slowed down my learning. Right. Because I look at it now and it's like, bro, you want to learn something, go YouTube it. Like, you learn all you want. It may take you a while to get the information together, but you can get it. I came across at the time, there was this thing called MECP, Mobile Electronic Certified Professional. And this is back in the day, again, no internet. Google doesn't exist. It was a car stereo magazine. There was an ad in the back of it, and you had to fill out the coupon, mail in the check, and it was a mail order to get this study book. So MECP is a certification program that will certify you as a certified professional installer. Oh, cool. So like, I want to do this. Let me get the book and at least read through it and learn. I'm very interested. I start reading through this book, bro, and it is like, it's Greek to me. It's above my pay grade. So going through it, I'm in high school. I'm in my last quarter semester, whatever the hell it is. And I got assigned to a technical drawing class, and I needed it as an elective to graduate. Like, I was just on the edge of graduating or not. And I get in there for a couple weeks, and I despise this class. Like, I absolutely hate it. So I go and I don't know this at the time, but I'm actually closing. I'm selling the teacher on this idea. I hit this dude up, Mr. Gargiulo, and I'm like, hey man, this not for me. I can't do it. I said, however, I got this really cool thing that I'm really into in this whole car. And I would just, probably babble to the guy for 30 minutes. And I show him this guidebook, this study book. And in the back of the book, it says the school librarian or a librarian anywhere can proctor the test to get you to become a certified installer. I was like, oh shit, that is wild right there. So talk to this dude. He says, hey, let's work something out. He winds up going to his superior, the principal, whatever, and basically keeps me in his class, but takes this guidebook and turns it into the curriculum for me for the remaining of the year. Gives me lessons out of there. And like, this is a shop teacher, so he knows a lot of the basics that are in this book, which was really good. So we start diving in, man. And long story short, I wound up taking that assessment at the end of the year. It was my final grade, and I passed with like a 72 or a 73. So on paper, I'm 17 years old, still in high school. I've never worked in a professional shop, but I'm a certified installer. Which I laugh at that now.
You laugh now, but like at that time, you were leaps and bounds ahead of your 17-year-old friends.
Yes.
And you were now going to say, okay, well, I'm going to take what I have, apply it to a business. Now, did you open your own business or did you work for somebody?
I went and worked for someone for a couple of years. So 17, like 2 weeks out of high school, went out, got the first job, got real pissed off because they hired me as an installer. I wanted to turn wrenches. And I went in there dressed up a little bit nicer, like khakis and like, I look like Jake from State Farm probably. And I showed up there the first day. It was like a Monday. I got my little Craftsman metal toolbox. And the guy who owns the shop is like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm taking my tools and going in the back. You hired me last Friday. Today's my first day. He's like, yeah, no. He's like, I never forget, the guy's name was Drew. Drew Levy. He's like, you're too clean cut to work in the back. He goes, go put that damn toolbox in your car. And he goes, get your ass up front and sit behind the counter. And he threw it like a company shirt at me, like a golf shirt, like had the company logo on the breast pocket. And I was like, my jaw hit the ground. I'm like, I don't know sales. Like, what are you talking about, bro? But so I'll tell you what.
He wants you to be sales as opposed to. Technician, but he
Yeah.
hired you for
Dude, I
technician?
was a clean cut white kid,
Yeah.
right? I spoke okay. Like I didn't, the words coming out of my mouth. Like I probably, I don't want to sound cocky here because it's not my intention. I probably always sounded a bit more educated than I really am, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it does. Totally. Yep.
So he's six feet behind the sales counter, and at the time I'm pissed off. But things happen for you, not to you in life. So I don't know what's going on here, but he pairs me up with this old salty ass dude named Freddie, who I'm still in contact with to this day. And I start learning sales at the age of 17. Like, and you being a business owner and someone who's been around the block, you understand that in life, sales is everything.
Absolutely.
Right. Without sales, there is no business.
Mhm.
So I'm pissed off about this up front. But what I don't realize is these are the lessons that I need to learn now that are going to serve me forever for the remainder of my life. And, looking back at it now, I'm grateful as all hell for those guys kind of throwing me into the fire like that. But at the time, I was not happy about that situation whatsoever.
Wow. So now you now become an installer. Well, no, you were sales. Pissed off. You want to be an installer.
Yep.
How do you transition from sales, because that's not what you wanted to do? And honestly, if you weren't, you said, and that's your words, not mine. You said school was not your thing.
Yep.
Okay. But I will say, from my Puerto Rican background too, we can work you a little bit.
Yeah.
We can talk.
Yes.
And we can kind of get what we want, and then we'll show you we can work, and then put us where we want to be.
Yes.
Right? And I'm not lying there.
No, you're not lying there. It's very accurate. You're probably the same mentality mindset as me. And it's like, if I make up my mind and I want to do something, you've got two choices, right? Mm-hmm. Option one is get on the bus and come along for the ride, or get run over. Yep. Right? That's really what it is.
Correct.
And it's always been my mentality. And I don't know where it comes from. Maybe it's part of my DNA, the culture.
East Coast, Puerto Rican. I mean, I'm telling you, that's literally the people that we've hung out with are like that are in our business. They're in business together, that are started from now you came middle class. We were not, we had to scratch for everything and just get by.
Yeah.
But we relied on our friends and our contacts to get work, because we are loyal. Mm-hmm. We're very loyal to our friends and our family. So that's how we got it. You went out and actually got a skill that you learned from your uncles and your relatives, and tried to put it into a place where you want it to be. Mm-hmm. Even though someone threw a roadblock at you and said, no, you're not going to be there. You said, well, no, I'm knocking this roadblock down. This is where I'm going to be.
Yeah.
So when is the first time you step out and say, no, bro, sorry, I'm over here?
I worked there for probably 6, 8 months, 9 months or something. And another shop in town had an opening for a full-time installation position, and I took it. And it was like the dream job. I showed up at that place. I worked there for 3 months, and I hated every freaking minute of it. The culture of the place was no good. The guys there were they weren't my kind of people. Looking back at it now, like it's energetically, that place was not cool. Right. Mm-hmm. So I wound up quitting that place, and I was, 18-year-old kid probably at this point, unemployed for a couple of weeks. And when you're a kid, you kind of go back to the familiar places. So I started going back to that first shop and hanging out there a little bit. And one of the owners comes up to me one day and he goes, "You're hanging out here a lot. You don't have a job right now?" And I said, "No." He goes, "All right, what do you want to do?" And I was like, "I want to work in the back." And he goes, "Okay." He goes, we need an installation manager back there. You want the job?" Damn right I do. So I took that and I did that probably for another year. And I'll never forget. It was June-ish of 1999. It was like my last day there. And I remember it very vividly because that summer I went up to Boston, Massachusetts, and went to trade school for car stereo at a really high level. Like I got to the point where I couldn't teach myself any more of the trade because I didn't have a good surrounding of like good mentors in the industry. Mm-hmm. And bro, probably like you, going after what you wanted from the boxing career and whatnot. It's like, I am going to find the people who have the skill set to get me to where I want to go.
Right.
Oh, cool. It's a 3.5-hour drive up to Boston. The only problem here is this trade school is $10,000. I don't have $10,000. So went and had a conversation with mom, and She was not too happy with me at that point in time. I had dropped out of community college and I didn't tell her about it. And she'd just gotten some letters in the mail saying, hey, you owe all this money and your son hasn't showed up to class in XYZ days into or months.
Oh,
So
so this is actually a disaster.
yeah,
At this point.
it was not smooth. So
Okay.
don't take this as a smooth sailing here. But sat down with her and had some real conversations, and like my mom and I, we've always butted heads, right? Because she's a hard-headed Puerto Rican, bro.
Mhm.
But at the same point in time, she's always been my greatest supporter, right? And still is to this day. And she went out and she did what she had to do. My mom was in corporate sales for many, many years. She's always done well for herself. And she went out and made it happen. I don't know what she did, how she did it. Long story short, I know she borrowed money from family, friends, right? She got me to the trade school. And I spent about 90 days in Boston in that trade school. And the skill set that I developed and learned while I was there is what propelled me to the next step in my career at that point.
And for context, was your dad still?
So my parents divorced when I was 4.
Okay.
So my dad's been in my life, right? My dad, full transparent. My dad would rather sit his ass in a bar stool drinking beer all day and doing nothing.
So your relationship with your dad at this point and currently?
It's strained, right? So here's the deal, going into divorce, because we could talk about that all day too, right?
Yeah.
My parents divorced when I was 4, and this is one thing I'll commend my mother for, right? My mom never spoke poorly or negatively to me about my father, right? She just bit her tongue. And, I did like every other weekend or every weekend or something with my dad, and they lived a mile apart. So, I mean, when I got to an older age, I mean, I could ride my bike or walk if I wanted to. And then I got to the age of like 13, 14, 15, and you start to see things with a different set of lenses because you're coming out of childhood and you're getting into those adolescence years.
Mm-hmm.
And I start to see the signs on the wall. And my dad's favorite bar is in between my mom's house and his house. And every day I'm like riding my bike with my friends on the main road. Like, man, dad's car's at the bar again. Damn, dad's car's at the bar again. All right. Dad's always complaining he's got no money. And well, dad's got no money because his dumb ass is sitting on the bar stool drinking beer all day. So I started to realize things with my own set of lenses, if that makes sense, right?
No, I went through the same situation.
Yeah.
Whereas I looked at it where now my mom is a little different than your mom. There was no love lost there.
Mm-hmm.
So automatically I think my dad was behind the 8 ball, but there came a time where he could have said, hey, because you're older.
Yeah.
And there was no connection there. There was no thing. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Where you're like, you say you love me, you say you want to see me, but what are you doing over there?
Yeah. If it wasn't for sports, my dad wasn't involved. Right.
Okay. So when you played sports, was your dad there?
Yeah, he was.
Oh, okay.
He was, because he's a diehard sports fanatic still to this day. Right. So I played baseball. I played football. Dad was there for all of that all the time. Okay. But outside of that, outside of my weekend spent with him, like there wasn't much going on. And like, again, I don't hate the guy. Right. I understand that at this point, like my father has a disease and I can't talk. The disease is called alcoholism. Cool. I've accepted it at this point. I accept the individual human being that he is. I don't hate or despise the man. However, our relationship has never been like perfect as I've gotten older. So that's just the way it is, man. Like, again, I don't hate him, don't despise him. He still lives in New York. I'm in Texas at this point, so we don't see each other very often. If I see him once, maybe twice a year, it's a lot, and it's usually for an hour or so.
Yeah, and that brings me now to your next part of your life. So you go through that. So obviously you went through school.
Yeah.
You're coming out. You're in 1920, right around there, 22.
19. I got out of trade school.
19. Okay.
Yep.
Your father's kind of out of the picture there.
Mm-hmm.
Your first job wasn't exactly what you wanted.
Yep.
You go to your dream job, allegedly. Yep. That's not where you want.
It was terrible.
So now you turn back to where you initially went to.
Yeah. So
what happened?
Yep. So after I went back to the initial place, go to trade school.
Yep.
Come back from trade school fired up. Okay. Like fired up. Like I have a burning desire and I have an elevated skill set that's in me that is not normal or common, especially for the area that we're in. Because like the trade school that I came out of was actually a fully functioning, very high-end car audio shop. And they billed by the hour. It wasn't like, oh yeah, come in, drop your car off. It'll be $1,500 when you pick it up. Like, no, it's going to be here for 3 months and we're going to bill you by the hour. Oh, and by the way, we're going to also charge you X amount of cents per wire tie that we use on the install. Okay. Like big name people were coming to this place and the level of quality was through the roof. I go, cool. I have a skill set that I want to go deploy. So again, coming to town, this is again the height of the car stereo boom in the late 90s. Like shops are everywhere. Every other corner there's a shop.
Yeah. And you were on Long Island.
Yeah.
Was it before or after that Unique Whips came out?
Before.
That was before. Holy cow, you were ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Once that hit, holy
yeah,
shit.
Then it took off like crazy. Yeah. So I wound up working at this place. Again, real cool place, high-end place. We started doing work for big name people. We were doing all the East Coast rappers were coming, all the dudes from Bad Boy, Puffy, Mace, all the dudes from DMX and the Rough Riders were coming to us. Like we were doing some cool shit, very exclusive high-end vehicles for people who had more money than knew what to do with. And I wound up working there for 3 years. And once again, I elevated myself. I started doing good work, had people coming in there requesting for me to work on their vehicles, which was cool. And I started going back for more schooling, more fabrication training, and I was paying for it out of my own pocket. And I got into an altercation. It wasn't physical. It was verbal altercation with the owner of the place at the time. And I wanted to go down to Florida to this really high-end exclusive training. It was costing me like $3,000 or $4,000, $5,000. I said, hey man, look, I want to go down there and get this training because it's going to up my skill set and it's going to allow you to build your clients at a higher level. We can all make more money. And the dude looked at me and he's like, yeah, you don't need that. I ain't paying for it. Well, I had already made up my mind. Courtesy of what I said to you earlier, you have two choices: get on the bus or get run over. So I booked the flight. I booked the trip down there, paid for it out of my own pocket, and went down there. And again, I met some really cool people and learned stuff at a much higher level. Like, boom, blew my mind. I came back a couple weeks later, and this dude had the balls. This is what pissed me off. This dude had the balls to bring me outside, and a client came in, and this client was asking specifically for a fabrication technique that I had just spent a ton of money on out of my own pocket to go learn. And my boss at the time was like, how long is this going to take you to do? And he quoted the guy and he sold the job. And I'm like, bro, like if I hadn't gone and spent this money and got this skill set, like this wouldn't be a thing right now. You would have told this guy, sorry, we can't help you. And it rubbed me the wrong way. And it still does to this day. Right. So
well, it should.
Yeah.
Well, it should.
I wound up exchanging a couple of 4-letter words with that guy. Not my finest moment.
But typical out there in Long Island.
Yeah. And I was maybe 20, almost 21 at that time. Right. Mm-hmm. And basically said like, hey man, peace. I'm out. I quit. And I had been living a life. I was making halfway decent money for a 20-year-old kid at that point in time, but all my money went out to cars or going out to the bar and getting smashed kind of deal. Mm-hmm. So I got my tools. I've got my skill set. I've got a list of clients who want to work with me, and I've got a whopping $300 to my name. I said, see you guys later. I'm out. What are you going to do? I don't know. Figure it out.
So now what I'm getting out of this, number one, your business mind is already more developed than, as I'm going to be honest, more developed than your boss at the time. But two, you were betting on yourself. Mm-hmm. Something I've always done. I'm going to bet on myself. Yeah. Because if I fail, it's on me.
Yeah.
If I succeed, that's also on me.
Yeah. Here's a blessing though that I had as well. Like I had a good relationship with my mom. I still lived at home. Right. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to worry about rent. I wasn't married. I didn't have any kids. Like I had nothing to lose at that point in my life. Right. And I had a guy who wound up becoming a mentor, pulled me aside, and he owned a local automotive repair shop in town. My mom was one of his clients. He pulled me aside. And he told me just that. And this is a guy who was very successful, multimillionaire, businesses, owned commercial property, the whole 9 yards. He pulled me aside, and I used to go do side work for him too. So we knew each other quite well. And his name was Jerry. He goes to me, he's like, what are you doing? Like, what do you mean what I'm doing? Like, I don't know. He goes, you have no wife, you have no kids, you don't own a house, you don't have an apartment or rent that you owe anybody. He goes, now is your time. And the dude pulled out $1,000 and stuffed it in my pocket and said, go get it.
Wow.
I'll never forget it. Right. And like, there's certain people that do things like that for you in your life that are literally, it's a life-altering event. It's a life-changing event. It's a pivot moment in your life. If it wasn't for someone like him, someone I looked up to and said, oh, one day I want to be like that guy.
Right.
I don't know if I would have had the confidence at that young age to go do it. And a couple of weeks later, man, there I was getting after it.
And this is where you go into the GPS installation business.
This is my first company.
Okay.
We did audio and accessories, right?
Oh,
so
okay.
that company's called Exquisite Mobile Electronics. Lasted 5 years. 5 years, and I burned it to the ground, dude.
Wait, burned it to the ground?
Like not like fire, but like I was such a bad business owner.
Okay.
That the company just failed because I didn't know business at that point, right? I was a fantastic technician. I had spent all my time, effort, and energy learning the skill set and the trade needed to be an amazing installer. And I thought, okay, cool. I opened the business. As long as people know who I am and I've got this amazing skill set and I'm willing to do the hard work, like everything else is going to fall into place. Well, I hate to break it to you. That's just not how it works. Right. And now with a lot of the coaching stuff I do, I equate it to my clients. It's like the fulfillment side of the house, right, which is you doing the work, is 20% of the equation. And you've probably heard of Pareto's principle, 80-20 rule, right?
Yeah.
20% is actually you doing the work. The rest, the big picture, the 80% is marketing, it's sales, it's systems, it's processes, it's software, it's team. If you're not putting any of that stuff in place, like I don't care how hard you're going to work, at some point in time it's going to fail, or you're just going to burn out. And that's exactly what wound up happening with me.
So you burnt out as opposed
burned
to
out, physically hurt. This is when physically my life started to change. Like I went from being a guy who, dude, I'm a big guy. I always have been. Right now I'm 6'4", 275.
You got to build though, like an athletic build.
Yeah, I'm in the gym 4 or 5 days a week, right? But that's new for me. It's the last 5 years of my life. So at this point in my life, like all that's out the window, right? Like I'm grinding, and like I don't have time to work out, don't have time to eat clean, don't have time for water, don't have time for all the excuses are coming out because the focus is the business, and the business is everything.
Did you at that point, did you go through like a little bit of a depression? And I say that because usually men lean towards comfort food.
Yes.
Feeling, because men are financial, women are emotional.
Mm-hmm.
You feel I don't know if it's, you just feel unworthy of doing something.
Yeah.
And that, because it happened to me. I went through, I put on a ton of weight. It was a nightmare. And did you go through that at that time?
So I wouldn't say that I've been a depressed person, like clinically depressed, but I've definitely had episodes of depression in my life.
Okay. And
I've figured out what the triggers are for them at this point, and I've cleaned up a lot of it. And I would say 98 and 99% of the time now, like I'm good to go. I don't have struggles in that area. But it took a lot of self-reflection, took a lot of self-development, took a lot of learning, took a lot of reading for me to discover and figure out what those things were. So I could say, okay, I'm not willing to accept that in my life anymore. So please get it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now so when after you make a decision, I'm going to now change. Because you're really on your own now. Your business has struggled. It fails.
Yeah, it fails.
At this point, you have to make a decision.
Yes.
You've already made the leap out to your own.
Yep.
Where do you turn now? Like where's your mind? Well, first of all, where's your mind at this point? Then where do you turn?
Great question. So this is ego talking right here. Okay. Mm-hmm. Ego's big, and everyone's got ego, right? It's a defense mechanism we all have. And ego can be good to a certain point, and then it becomes a problem. I was 21, 22, 23, 24 years old in that area, right? Mm-hmm. And I'd go to a barbecue or a party or, go meet some people, whatnot. And people say, the first question when you meet someone, say, hey, what do you do? And the ego in me would be like, oh, I'm on business. And people would be like, bro, you're 21 years old. What do you mean you're on your own business? I'm like, yeah, I do. This is what I do. And it was like chest bump. Oh, dude, that feels good. Right. And it did. Right. Yeah. Let's just be real. It feels good. You being a young business owner too, you probably experienced the same thing.
I'm 19.
Yeah. So now this business fails. I'm the cause of it. And I know that, by the way, which is a struggle, right? Definitely a difficult period in my life, right around the age of 25. I get recruited by a friend of a friend who owns a really successful aftermarket shop. He doesn't just do audio, he does everything aftermarket. And he goes, I want you to, he goes, dude, your thing is done. It's crumbled. Like, you have to pull the plug. And this is a guy who's a very successful business owner. Still a good friend to this day, still someone I call up and be like, hey man, how you doing? You all good, kind of thing. And he goes, come with me. He goes, I will help you. Okay. So that right there was a tough decision, was admitting, okay, failure. And I can't fight. I can't outwork my way out of the hole that I've dug for myself here. Right. Like, I dug it so damn deep. Like, there's the only way to fix this is to say, okay, close it up. And now let's pile the dirt on top of it and rebuild and get back to level ground. And that's what I did with this dude for 3 years. So wound up working for him.
If I could interject, how hard was that?
Because
I know, yeah,
it was terrible. All right. And going back to the whole thing I told you about before with the ego, now here comes the problem. So now, cool, business is closed. That wasn't fun. We got to fire the 5 or 6 people that were working for me and say, hey guys, sorry, we got no money. I failed. Right. Worst phone call ever was to my landlord saying, hey, by the way, I know I signed a 5-year lease, but we're 3 years into it now and I got no money to pay you. And pray to God that this guy doesn't come after me for the money that I signed for in the lease, because legally he could have, and he didn't. So anyway, I go work for this dude. And now it's like you go from business owner to business employee overnight. Talk about a swift kick, bro. And now when you go to that barbecue, you go to that party, you go to the bar, you meet the girl, whatever it may be, and someone asks you, hey, what do you do for a living? And you used to be able to say, oh, I'm a business owner. And now you can't. Now you got to be like, oh, yeah, I'm Tom, and I'm the 12-volt manager at the store up the road. You know, I just work for somebody else. Like, that was deflating for me. It was one of the hardest things that I had to deal with at that period of my life. And at the same point in time, this dude who kind of took me in and you know, took me under his wing and helped me out, like, still to this day, I'm grateful for him, because he taught me a lot about life. He taught me a lot about business. He taught me how to deal with clients. He taught me how to deal with issues face on and just deal with them. And oftentimes when you do that, when you don't avoid the problem, you wind up getting something out of it on the backside, such as more business or loyalty from the client. And I just learned a ton from the guy, and still to this day, I'm grateful and respect the shit out of him.
I think that would have been my hardest thing, because it actually fueled me when we were borderline bankrupt. This was the financial crisis, the banking crisis back in 2008.
Yep, same time.
We had a lot of people that just pulled big contracts from us. We had the biggest supermarket chain in Northeast PA here. We had all the colleges. They pulled. You know, you're talking half pennies. We're negotiating half pennies. Yeah. Obviously, it's volume, but it's half pennies.
Yeah.
You know, one thing happens, the whole thing crumbles. That's when I realized I was living on a house of cards. So the hardest thing for me was like, I'll either have to go work for somebody, and I use that as fuel. And I think you're the kind of person who used it as fuel too.
Yeah.
Because now this guy takes you on, and where are you now putting your energy at this point in your life?
3 years of my life was dedicated to that man's business. And this is when I start to notice patterns as well. Right. Because when I closed my business, I swore to myself, like, small business hurt me so badly, financially, emotionally, mentally. I swore to myself I'd never do it ever again. All right. 3 years or so into it, 2.5 years or so into working for this dude, I'm like, getting the itch again. Like, the entrepreneurial itch is coming back. Like, why am I working, 60 hours a week for somebody else, plus all this driving and travel and whatnot? And like, I could go do this for myself and make a lot more money, or I can go do this for myself and make the same money or less, but also gain back a lot of hours, not have to answer to anybody. And that's when opportunity came in again, man. So July 2009, I wound up getting married. My long-term girlfriend at the time, right? We were together 6 or 7 years at that point, and she had supported me. She was with me since day one, the very first business, because I met her right before I opened the first company. And this chick was at my side supporting me the entire time. Right. I'm still grateful for that to this day.
So she was there at the worst of the worst.
Oh, she's seen the worst of the worst, and she's
Mhm.
seen the best of the best,
Mhm.
and everything in between, right? So July 2009, we get married. September 2009, I quit and start the second company. That was it. That was all right. Let's roll. Like, it's time.
And
So
she was on board.
yeah, she's on board. All right.
Okay.
My pattern here is 3 years. So I've never worked for another individual more than 3 years. This is when I start to recognize the pattern. Okay, cool. I went and I worked for someone at the shop over there after trade school. I worked there for 3 years. Cool. Came out, did my own business for 5 years and it failed. Went to work for someone for 3 years. Okay, boom. Now we're back into the growth pattern of working for me and building a company. And this is when Top Class, the GPS installation company, started.
Okay.
So this company started September 2009. I had a business partner, which was a blessing at the time. And I'm not discounting it. I'm not mad that I had a business partner, but I wouldn't do it again that way. Okay. At the time, it served. We started that company because we saw a need. We're both hardworking guys, right? And we were doing. I met this dude at one of the shops that I worked at, and we were both installers, and we were both hardworking guys, and we had a good following. We both did a ton of side work, like after hours, installing radios and remote starts to people, and we were. So I was working for this dude at the store in between after my first business, and I drive home. I had like an hour drive home, by the way. I drive home. I'd sleep and eat something for like an hour or two, and then I'd meet my soon-to-be business partner at his house, and we'd work on our private clients' vehicles until 3, 4 a.m. in the morning. And we were just racking the money in, bro, like doing cool work, doing cool things. And it got to the point where him and I sat down, looked at each other like, what are we doing? Like, because he had a full-time job at the time too. Like, we're busting our asses over here for somebody else, and we're coming back home at night working for ourselves. We make more money working for ourselves than we do for the other things, but we're over there because we got benefits and medical insurance and whatnot from those things. Like, why don't we just come together and do this as a pair? And we did. So that was July 2009. And this dude was already he had his foot in the door in the GPS tracking industry, right? He was a car stereo installer at heart. That's what he grew up doing. He was really good at it. But he worked for a company that was a large global company that sold GPS tracking hardware and software to clients, like anyone who's got a fleet of vehicles. So he knew that game well. And while he was an employee there, he got word that the company was going to be basically getting rid of their W-2 employees who were their installers and switching over to a subcontractor model. So he gets word of this and says, I'm out. Basically resigns. And that's when him and I came in. We set up the LLC. And we started Top Class Installations, and we were signed up as a subcontractor for that company, very quickly. So out of the gate, we have a GPS company on board who's sending us install work. Plus, we're doing all this other side work as far as stereos and remote starts, that kind of crap. And we're just busy, and we're two like driven dudes who hustle and are not afraid of work.
Right.
And did that, man. We did that for 5 years. And we grinded for 5 years, and we did pretty good. Probably make it a couple $100,000 each a year and living a decent lifestyle. The problem I started to see was, okay, 5 years into it, my wife comes and says, I'm pregnant, and we were trying. So it was a good thing. And I said, wow, I'm bringing this kid into the world. I'm about to be a dad for the first time. I didn't have a good relationship with my father because he really wasn't around much. And I don't want to do that to my kid. And if I continue working like I'm working now, I am not going to be around for this kid whatsoever. I don't want to do that. Okay. So we got some time here. Start to evaluate, think about it. And a couple months into my wife being pregnant at the time, it was like, okay, I'm really good at what I do. My partner's really good at what he does. However, we both suck at business. Like, we're decent. Don't get me wrong. Like, we got stuff coming in and we're making money, but we don't know how to grow and scale a company. We don't know how to capitalize on other people's time. We don't understand what's needed in order to really build this thing out. So we're not the ones doing all the damn work.
Right.
Okay. So I see opportunity here. And also, you got to understand, the business model went from B2C, business to consumer, which I'm selling stuff to retail customers coming in every day, to B2B, business to business.
Right.
So that was a major life lesson learned for me there. And I think it's important for people who are in business who are watching this podcast. You got to know this. Right now, I'll give you a real world example. Okay. I got a retail car stereo shop. George, you come into me and you're like, man, I want a banging system. All right, cool. It's going to be 15 grand. And you're like, damn, I was thinking more like $2,000, bro, 15 G's. Like, whoa. Right. And like you go, oh, you get that heart palpitation pop up.
Yeah.
Now, if you own, let's say you own a food delivery company and you've got 30 vehicles, right? And you call me up and you say, hey, man, I got to get backup cameras installed on all 30 of these vehicles. Come give me a quote. Let me know what it's going to be and how long it's going to take you to get these done. I show up on site and I tell you, all right, man, it's 15 grand. We can get started next week. I just need a deposit. You know what that business owner does? He goes over to his checkbook or he hands you his credit card. He goes, cool. See you later. So the mentality of the dollar for the individual is much different from the business. Oh, cool. Oh, by the way, we don't need the same crazy ass skill set to do this commercial fleet work that we did for the retail car stereo. Right. So, now this is scalable because I can hire people who don't have the same skill set that I have because I'm an anomaly. Like, dude, I went and spent all this crazy money, went to trade school after trade school, wanted to learn more and more and more. Like I'm very elevated at what I do. Not many people can hang with me at that level. And I'm not saying that from a cocky perspective. It's just the truth. So we start getting busy with this commercial work, man. And I also realized, okay, I need to go capitalize on this business opportunity, but I don't know how to do it. And that right there was like, okay, being self-aware is a good thing. And then it was, okay, I got to go convince my business partner that we need to go hire a business coach or a consultant or something along those lines. And that was it, man. We went down that road, hired the first guy. And I'll never forget, his name was Richard, old cat. We worked with him for about 6 months. And the first thing that guy said to me when I walked into his office for the very first meeting, after we paid him, a couple grand and whatnot, he goes, all right, if you're going to work with me, he goes, you're going to read. And he dropped a book on the table. And I was like, I came up with every excuse you could think of. Like, man, I ain't got time for that. But man, I'm behind the damn steering wheel all day, driving from job site to job site, working for customers. And he's like, well, I guess you're going to go on Audible and you're going to get the audiobook, aren't you? I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so he had you pinned anywhere you went. You're going to read with this guy.
He had seen this 1,000 times before. He knew exactly what was going to happen, right? So start working with this guy. I'll never forget it. He handed me a book. I ripped through that audiobook, and for the first time in my adulthood, it reignited my love of learning. I was like, oh my God. And it expanded my horizons and said, this is what's possible in the business world if you're willing to do things a little bit outside the ordinary, a little bit outside of what the culture, a little bit outside of what the area tells you small business, or how small business should be done.
Right.
All right, cool.
So let me push back a little bit on something. I'm going to go back. Partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
That is the only ship that doesn't sail in my experiences. It's a two-part thing because then I'm going to get into something personal with you, a little bit. Then we can move forward in what you're doing now. But I don't want to lose this track right here.
Yeah.
Partnerships are difficult, especially when they're two guys driven. And here's why I say this. Obviously, I was in a partnership too before I was 19 when I opened my business. I didn't even know what the hell. I didn't know how to do a checkbook. I never finished high school. So I was writing checks thinking I'll just write checks. You got to have the money in the account to write. I didn't know. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did not know. Now we had the money in the thing. We had the money to put into the account.
Right.
I just was old school and kept the money here at the shop.
Right.
We put it in the bank. In the check, I just didn't know. We always did cash. Always did cash. So now you have partners that come in. One of my partners is extremely successful. He owns about 4 or 5 bagel shops. Does unbelievable well. My other partner, who I worked for, he's like my dad.
Yeah.
He has a bagel shop in Glen Rock, New Jersey, and he's since exited the business. He did very well for himself. When we got together, I was 19. They're in their 40s, closer to 50. Now, here's why it doesn't work. So I'm a driven guy. They're driven. You were driven. Your partner was driven. I'm going to say your example.
Mhm.
Your partner, you were there at 6 o'clock in the morning because you want to get a head start. You're having a good day. You're getting ready. You're doing whatever. You come in. Here comes your partner walking in. Hey, what's with all the wiring on the floor? You're gonna clean what? What's the? Did you call that other guy today to get this? There is never a divide or a concrete scope as to who is in charge of doing what.
Mhm.
Me and you know, if you're at the top, you're
Mhm.
responsible for everything, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yep.
So you know, ultimately, you have to control everything.
Mhm.
Have you reevaluated what partnerships are like?
Yo, since then, absolutely, because we went into it with nothing like that. It was like, hey man, you're a hard worker. I like you. We're kind of friends too. You're not afraid to work. Let's go work and make money together. Like that was it. So we started the company. I think we started an S corp too for some reason. By the way, I don't know why.
Getting taxed twice. Good job.
Yeah.
Oh no, wait, no. S corp is good.
It wound up being good later, but out of the gate, we did not need an S corp.
Oh, okay. It should have been LLC, probably.
Yeah, it should have been LLC, and then later on, we should have transferred it to be taxed as an S corp.
Yes.
But we didn't know any better. It was like, hey, just fire up the S corp, right? And by the way, folks, if you're listening and you're not familiar with this, if you have an S corp, you are required to put yourself on payroll.
Correct.
Yes.
Which it actually helps me because I can be covered just in case I get hurt here.
Yes.
In Pennsylvania, actually, it's not required to have workman's comp.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are required. You guys pay you guys have every.
We need workers' comp.
Oh, you got everything. So we're not required to. So for us, but I do give myself a check because number one, it's way easier. Number two, you don't have this little small company named the Internal Revenue Service come around searching your business. It's a lot easier. Just do everything above board. It's way easier. No, sorry, go back to your situation.
So we don't have anything in place as far, and like this is what I've learned later. So 6 or 7 years into the partnership is when we finally sat down with the attorneys and put partnership agreements in place.
How long ago? How many years?
We were 6 or 7 years into the business when we.
You didn't have minutes. You had no minutes or anything.
Nope, nothing.
Oh, jeez.
Nothing.
Oof.
Nothing. Right, like we were just two dudes who didn't know what the hell's going on. So 5 years into the business is when I start educating myself on business.
Better late than never.
Yeah. And okay, now I'm learning, reading, consuming books in all areas of business, all areas of self-development, the whole 9 yards, right? Like I'm working on the business, I'm working on me for the first time, by the way, simultaneously. And these are things that I'm learning, books that I'm reading. It's coming across like, oh, damn, like that's and me, I'm like, we got to go fix this now, right? Because it's urgent. And now the problem is my partner is refusing to grow and self-develop at all. And now I have to go in here and educate him, convince him, AKA, by the way, close the sale, right? On this is the importance of this. And if we don't do this, these things are going to possibly happen. And it was a struggle, bro. Right. And it's one of the reasons that I wound up leaving 11 years into the relationship and going back to the whole thing we talked about before. Like I was sitting on that couch at home getting real bored during COVID. I was like, I got to make a change. And I was tired of fighting with him. I was tired of, just like butting heads every day over nonsense. And here you are, you've got two alpha males who have their own ways of doing things that, hey, my way is the right way. Your ways, you think your way is the right way. And we both know that there's truth in both ways.
Right.
But I just got burned and tired with it, man. And if someone is in a partnership now, I'll give you some pointers. Make sure you have a partnership agreement and go have an attorney draw it. Don't go to damn LegalZoom because you need more than that.
From day one, you would
from day one, yeah. The sooner the better. And if you didn't do it from day one, do what I did and get your ass back into the attorney's office, spend a couple $1,000s and get that stuff in place. One of the things that we learned through this, right? So my partner was married, had kids. I was married, had kids. If one of us dropped dead, the business, his half of the business would have been awarded to his wife. So if that guy got run over by a bus, right, the next day I would wake up and all of a sudden I got a new business partner and I got no say in it.
Who can't do the work.
Right? So, that's a problem. So these are conversations we wind up having with the attorney, and the attorney's been down this road 100 times. So, okay, cool. This is no big deal, guys. This is what you need to do. And this is the importance of hiring people that know what they're doing and have the experience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you want to look at, I think that everything and every situation is a coach. The attorney coached us on what to do based upon his experience.
Right.
You guys need key man insurance. You guys need life insurance policies on each other, and the company is going to pay for it. So that way, if Tom, if you get run over by a bus, the life insurance policy is going to be paid to your business partner, Jimmy. And Jimmy, we have it under contract here. Jimmy is to take that money and he's to pay your wife. And by the way, he just bought you out of the business and now he owns it solely. Okay, cool. It could be that simple, but these are the kind of things you got to sit down and go over. You got to bring your financials in. By the way, your financials better be in order if you're going to sit down and you want to do this properly.
And those were the hard conversations we had, our three partners, because now you're talking three. Ours was three.
Yeah.
And I was the key man.
Mm-hmm.
Something, if I go down, they've got, and you're right with that. I didn't think it was important at the time because I'm thinking I'm 20 years old. I'm going to live to 90. What am I worried about? I'm going to outlive you guys. You don't realize that because the attorneys were like, no, we've seen this a million times. And then you got a crazy wife. One of the kids is on drugs, goes out and hits somebody in a car. They're coming after everybody. They're going to sue everybody. You got to have this in writing. So you are 100% right on getting that stuff down. And I take those points as people that are listening to the podcast. I might say it, but here's a guy who's lived it and been through it like I did. Take his advice too. You're way beyond successful.
Thank you. Going into the legal thing too, I want to touch on this real quick. And this is my specialty, right? But one of the things that my attorneys have helped me with tremendously, like my one attorney, Scott, like his claim to fame is he calls it bulletproof your business or shatterproof your business. And when you start working with him, one of the things he does is he evaluates all your companies, all your assets, cars, houses, like everything you got. And he starts to build entity structures around them to separate you, putting trust in place, putting the houses or the cars in individual entities themselves. That way, like I got a big ass truck. I drive a 2023 or 2022 Ram TRX, right? It's a big giant truck, 702 horsepower. It's a bad bitch, right? I love it. But he goes to me, he's like, you got this truck. He goes, God forbid you run over someone's kid with that truck. They're going to come and take everything from you if we don't have the entity structure set up right. And he's 100% correct. So now the vehicle is in its own entity, right? Me, the individual, I don't own the truck.
Correct.
Right? And these are all things that a really good attorney can help you. Is there a cost associated to it? Sure there is. But not if, when shit hits the fan, not if, when you are protected.
Right. That's a good point. Even we, and we're going to I'm going to touch into some of your personal stuff here. I just recently got married again, and we don't have a mortgage on the home. Not a good thing in a business. It's good personally.
Yeah. From a tax standpoint, it's not a good thing.
But for me personally, it's why my attorney had said most doctors will never pay off their mortgage because it's in their name. They're going to go after the house. Okay. I am separated from that. That house is my new wife's. I don't own anything. I am, because I just wanted to be separated from everything. Now I do own the building my business is in, but excuse me, it's in my name. And if it's got to go pierce through a corporate veil. Yeah. So now I want to take this back to your partnership. And then now where I feel partnerships also hurt. Yeah. Partnerships also hurt your personal life. I went through a very tough time with a divorce. Full disclosure, we had a conversation before this. You said you were willing to talk at length about it. And whatever time you don't feel like, please stop me. The thing that I traded in my marriage, I didn't want to disappoint my partners. So they took the time. I traded money for time. Time you can't get back. The one commodity you can't get back. Okay. I thought I was doing the right thing. So I'm going to get this money and I'm going to give you the fake boobs. I'm going to give you the nice car. I'm going to give you the haircuts every week. I'm going to give you the vacations. What I found out was I was married to my partners and my business, not my wife. Yeah. It destroyed my marriage. At the end of the day, it destroyed it. How do you, and if you want to go into your situation, I want to put it kind of, how did you feel you were trading time for money, and was that a factor in the situation today?
Definitely felt like I was trading time for money, especially early on in the second company. It's one of the things that I work a lot with my clients now, right? In coaching and consulting. It's one thing that I learned from previous mentors and coaches I work with. And you got to study your time. And I'm going to talk some business here before I talk personal, because it's important.
Sure.
It's very, very good lessons. And I talk about this in my book too. It's all over my book. First things first, you have to know your WPH, right? Your worth per hour. And everyone here should calculate that. It's a KPI that you should know as an individual, as a business owner at any given time. And it's really, really, really simple to do the math. And I'm not a math guy, by the way. Okay. Take the amount of money that you made last year that went into your account and divide it by 2080. That's approximately 40 hours a week. And you and I both know we probably work more than 40 hours a week. Okay? Yep. That will give you a very close estimate as to what you're worth per hour. That's your KPI. That's your base. So if you, let me do the math quickly, because I know this because I talk about it a lot. I don't do math this good. If you made $300,000 last year and you divide it by 2080, I think it's $144 and change per hour. Mm-hmm. Cool. That's your KPI. So anything that is going to cost you less than $144 per hour, you stop doing it. That could be laundry. That could be cutting your grass. That could be stuff in and around the business. Right. This gives us the ideas of what can get delegated and pushed off to other people. Otherwise, if you continue to do that work, so if you find something like, for instance, task wise, if you're doing admin work or sending emails or sending invoices to people, I hate to break it to you, that's entry level data entry, office manager, $15, $20 an hour work. So here you are making $144 an hour, but you're doing the work that a $20 an hour person could do. So you're actually costing your company money. Right. And most business owners are like, oh, well, no, actually, I'm saving the company money because I don't have to pay the payroll. Yeah, but you could be focused on higher revenue generating activities than that. Or you could be spending free time with yourself. So you're not trading that time continuously with the business or with your partners and so on and so forth. So some real good, valuable lessons I have learned now.
Yeah. Now that you just said that, I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because we're going through a situation now. I told you my father-in-law has a medical issue we're working with. And I had to be out on the road.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have anyone, stupidly me, I didn't have anyone to replace that. But, our colleges are a big revenue driver. I deliver all the bagels to all these colleges that are here, and it's, 5 hours on the road.
Yeah.
I'm not making that. I'm losing money there.
Yeah, you're losing.
So now that I look at that, and I'm thinking to myself, what's it worth?
Yeah.
Really, honestly, like I'm able to do this because I'm fortunate. I'm able to do the podcast. I'm fortunate.
Yeah.
I don't have any debt, which again, I got to remind myself, I got to talk to you about that. I don't, so I'm fortunate to do this, but it's because of the groundwork I laid. But even though I know that, you speaking to me about that right now, that just put something into a different perspective for me. Like, what am I doing?
Good.
That's awesome.
That's what it's supposed to do.
It honestly, just right now, when I put myself off the screen, I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
Like this could be something. And I've talked to this with my brother. We're racking our brains for the last week. This just happened. He just had the medical issue Sunday, I think, or Saturday. And it kind of changes stuff. It's kind of like, whoa, where the hell? And then you look back, you're like, what the hell am I doing?
Yep.
And again, here we go back again. I'm not coming home till 2 a.m. And my wife's like, hey,
yep.
What are we doing? We just went to she went to the Flyers game without me.
Yeah.
Went with my stepson. I'm like, oh shit, this here we go again. We're going down this path again. So that's something I have to work on. See, and like you said, reading the books and doing whatever, you learn something. I'm learning this right now, in real time, right here on the podcast. So, where does that take you now? As like you're kind of thinking about this now, and obviously very fresh.
Yeah.
Mine is about 6 years out.
Yeah.
I've been married for a year.
Yeah.
For a few months.
So I'm about to finalize divorce real soon here. The house I'm in right now, as you can see me, I have a bare ass bookshelf behind me, which is not normal. That's because we just sold this house. I'm in my home office. We move out here on October 16th. So we close October 11th, move out October 16th. And then we got to do the finalization of the divorce and whatnot. But this has been a hell of a year on a personal side, right? And like a bunch of stuff has transpired. So let me start with 2020. Okay. 2020 is when stuff started to get squirrely, but get good at the same time and kind of go back and forth. And it was a hell of a ride. Like looking back at it now, hindsight's always 2020. COVID hits. I'm a coach at a mastermind organization, right? As a subcontractor. I still have my own installation company, making fantastic money, helping people, loving it, traveling a lot, like doing some cool things. COVID hits, kind of shuts down the Northeast, especially in the whole country, but the Northeast definitely got hit hard for sure. Sat on that couch, drinking beers, eating Coronas and whatnot, got real tired of being average as all hell. And I decided, I don't know if you ever heard of it, but Andy Frisella's got 75 Hard, right? It's a program that he's developed, and it's more of a mental program than it is a physical challenge. And I had been working out for a couple of years at this point, and I hadn't really seen any results. And like I said to you, I was like, all right, we can sit here and be average with society and get fat and get depressed and become alcoholics and drug addicts. And God only knows what happens behind closed doors in people's houses, right? Or I can go to work. I can literally go to war with myself and come out on the backside of COVID as a different man, as a different human being. And that's the path that I chose. So, all right, cool. So I'm going to do this thing called 75 Hard. 75 days, no alcohol, read 10 pages of a self-development book, drink a minimum of a gallon of water, follow a diet, 2 workouts per day, 2 45-minute workouts. One of them must be outdoors, regardless of the weather. Oh, and you got to take a progress picture of yourself every day too. And if you miss any one of those, you got to circle back to day 1 and start over. Cool. Let's roll. It's like, I got all this time. Like, we're just not that busy. And let's get it done, right? God only knows how long this lockdown is going to last. May as well get some stuff out of it. So start diving in, man. Start doing this work. I get 3 days into it, and a lightning bolt of reality zaps me in the forehead like a 2x4, just like Hacksaw Jim Duggan coming out back in the day, WWF. Just boom. And I'm like, whoa, what is going on? And I got my book. One of the things I'm big on, and I talk a lot about in the book, is core values, right? And one of my personal core values is I refuse to be average. And I'm sitting there at my desk in my home office. I'm still living in Long Island at the time. And that core value, I refuse to be average, is actually a sign that my wife had made for my birthday. It's over my desk. And I look at it and I said, oh no, this is a problem. Now I'm like getting hot thinking about it, right? Like sweat's beating up my forehead. Like, I got an average ass house. I got an average ass relationship with my business partner. Got an average ass relationship with friends and family. Got 2 average ass cars in the driveway. And I'm spotting average everywhere in my life. And this is now a problem because now I'm not living in integrity with the core value that I've established myself. So I got 2 choices again, right? We always have a choice in life. Choice 1 is, okay, I'm the dude who wrote the book on core values. And I could either move forward, continuing the way I am right now, and literally be a fraud, or I can go and fix the issues. So I'm going to go fix the issues. It's what we do, right? As a business owner, as an entrepreneur, I hate to break it to you folks, I don't care what you do. At the end of the day, you're a problem solver. So, all right, cool. We had already been talking for a handful of years about potentially moving out of New York. Let's reopen those conversations. I am done at this point. Don't want anything to do with my soon-to-be ex-business partner. And I'm done with the industry, done with the business, done with him. It became very transactional as well. The federal government got involved and was mandating over-the-road trucks to have certain equipment in their vehicles. So we'd show up at a job site and people wanted nothing to do with us. I'm like, I don't want to be in a business like that. I want to be in a business where someone actually wants to do business with me, right? Like people show up and buy a bagel and they come in and they're like, oh yeah, God, I can't wait for my morning bagel. By the way, I miss bagels living here in Texas from New York.
Well, we're moving west, I think, at some point. So
good.
Maybe Texas will be a stop.
Yeah. So all this stuff, these emotions are coming up, and I make some life-altering decisions very rapidly through this 75 Hard program. Went up selling the business, sell the house. All right. So this is the real estate market starting to go crazy with COVID. I put my house on the market, my Long Island house on the market. sold it 2 days later to a cash buyer for $35,000 over asking price.
Whew.
It's like, whoa, that's a sign. Cool. Get out of the
Mhm.
business or start the business. So start valuation, start seeing what needs to happen, get the contracts and stuff drawn up, that kind of stuff.
Now, real quick, Thomas, when you decided to break off with your business partner,
Yeah.
was it your decision, his decision, or mutual? Just
Oh,
say,
mine.
working.
Yeah, mine.
Yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely. Um,
Was it
yeah.
because was he not bringing the value you expected from him to the table?
Yeah. We just had different ideas of what success
Okay.
looked like.
Yeah, that's fine.
You know, it's one of those things where I have this theory, and I've experienced this in the personal side too, right?
Mhm.
There's time, right? So I have a graph I usually show with this, but if we self-develop, like, so we start off, let me give you a little hand diagram here. We start off together like this,
Mhm.
and we go through time this way, and we're
Right.
equals, right? Over time, I start to self-develop, and you keep going along at your level, but as time expands, the gap between us grows.
Right.
That's what happened in my business relationship with him. That's what happened as well in my personal relationship with my soon-to-be ex-wife.
Yeah, and that kind of was me. You know, I when you're driven to go and you want to be, like you say, you don't want to be average.
Yeah.
That's something in here.
Mhm.
It's in your heart. You don't want to be average.
Yeah.
You want to get, if they're not willing to make the sacrifices that you're willing to, you were only supposed to be there for a little bit. That's it.
Yep.
I didn't know that. So when you make that split from your partner, he was probably pissed because he says, well, this guy's going to this height. Man, I'm supposed to be with you. He wants to get on your coattails. No, bro. You get your own. You come up with me. I'm not pulling you up. You got to come up with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that kind of the how it ended?
Yeah, it was. And
Okay.
it was different when we first started, because he actually used to use that term all the time. It pissed me off. He's like, you come in here on this company and you're riding my coattails. And you know what? For the first probably 2 or 3 years, he was right. I was just a young, dumb kid who didn't know anything. I was kind of just following along because I saw some opportunity.
Right.
But I went in and did the work on me for years. And eventually, if you continue to show up day in and day out, you know what happens? The roles reverse. It's as simple as that. And it got to the point where, like, I wanted more. I was doing more. I was having success outside of the company as an individual.
Right.
Right. Accomplishing things like, speaking on stages, writing books, and asking people to come in and wanted to pay me thousands of dollars for the advice, the information that's in my head to help their business or their personal life. Cool. And these opportunities are popping up for me. And there was definitely some jealousy there. Right. And like, it is what it is. I'm not mad about it, but I needed to get myself out of that energetic field. If that makes sense.
No, I totally, because you'll never grow. You'll never grow, because it's like 50 Cent always says, he tried to get out and all his friends are pulling him back in.
Yeah.
And he's like, you can't, you want out.
Yeah. It's crabs in the bucket. It's a common theory that happens all the time, right? It's like, you are the individual who keeps educating, learning, wanting more, doing better, doing the hard work, and you're trying to crawl out of that bucket. And the average ass crabs, which I hate to break it to you, are most likely your current circle, your friends, your family, your employees. They're the ones who are nipping at you, saying, hey, come back down here. You make them uncomfortable by your actions and your success.
And on the flip side, the ones that want to help you and are going for that same goal, man, they help your business unbelievably.
Yes,
and I noticed that by my podcast. I had my two brothers come along, and they're busting their hump every day, trying to get guests, trying to get, reaching out there. I think Rich reached out to you, and just to get these people on. And you could see the growth. It's like, man, if you just have everyone have that synergy, go to one place, you could do so much. When you have that one, that's just it ain't gonna work.
Yep.
So now you moved to Texas. You sell your house 35,000 over asking price, which was the norm then. Everyone was moving out of. First of all, everyone's moving out of New York. They just had to get the hell out of there, because I couldn't believe my brother lived in New Jersey. I'm like, would you get the hell out of there? You couldn't do anything.
Yeah,
couldn't do anything. So you move there. You take your wife with you. Now your wife grew up with you in the same area, same school, but it was so big that you didn't know each other, right?
So we grew up in the same town, but opposite sides of the town. So we went to different schools.
Oh, you did, and you didn't know each other.
Nope.
That's how big Long Island is.
We lived a mile from each other, bro.
Oh my god. You never saw her at all?
No, I had no idea who she was. Went out at the age, I was 19 or 20, went to a local college bar with a couple of buddies of mine. And we went out there to just, pound beer and get hammered that night, because, young, dumb kids do.
Mhm.
And there she was. And we wound up having a very brief conversation. At the end of the night, I was drunk enough, which increased the confidence at that time in my life. I was drunk enough to say, "Hey, can I get your number? Maybe we'll talk later." And left and had this chick's number. This is before cell phones were like a thing. Cell
Yeah.
phones were there, but they weren't legit. This was her home phone number.
But you had to call to make sure her dad wouldn't answer.
I called and her mom answered. I'll never forget it. Her mom answered the phone.
Oh my God. The kids don't know this crap. It's like the stuff the hoops we had to jump through just to get a number
Yep.
from a girl. I used to try to fake it with a beeper,
Yeah.
but like it was terrible. It was horrible. But there was so many hoops you had to jump through now,
Mhm.
and you look how easy it is now, even in business.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's in business easy. Being a business owner is very difficult.
Mhm.
Working on it as opposed to working in it.
Sure.
They have everything in their disposal. They have it right there.
Yeah.
So it cuts that time. Obviously, you started very young. I started very young. So we had a lot of we had time. We had the youth on our age. We can go, 24 hours, go out, take a girl out, come back home, boom, back working the next morning, 5:30, 6 o'clock. We could do that. We can't do it now.
Yeah.
I mean, at 47, I'm not doing anything at the work. So we had that time. These kids, that learning curve, that's been cut.
Yeah.
That's been cut almost in half of what's going on. So now, and I keep bouncing back, but you're going to Texas. You're there.
Yep.
What happens there?
My plan was to fire up Step It Up Academy right out of the gate, and I worked on that, because this summer period, that gap there, like, wasn't that crazy busy work wise with Top Class. Plus, I was exiting, so I had a lot of stuff in place where I didn't have to go and work every day. All right, cool. This gives me the time to start setting things up so that when I land in Texas, my feet hit the ground over there. Boom, we get entity fired up and we start the company. Cool, moving along fine. I get down here, we move in, everything's rolling. Signed up, doing things, start signing up a couple clients into Step It Up Academy for coaching, consulting, that kind of stuff. And about 30 days in, I get a phone call from the organization that I was a coach for. And they said, hey, and they're Dallas based, by the way. That's how I found this whole area of Dallas. It's because I used to come down here once a month, and I was coming down here once a month for 3 years. So I got real familiar with the area.
You were kind of like a local almost.
Yeah, I was here so much.
Yeah, you were kind of like just in and out.
Once a month for at least 3 years.
So it wasn't too far for you going down there with your wife.
No, and a lot of people don't understand, like, especially the area that I'm in. I'm in North Dallas. Like, this isn't. Okay. This is. I mean, you see some of it here, but this isn't belt buckle, cowboy boot, and cowboy hat, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, yes, it's here. I mean, it is the South. It is Texas, but it's not prevalent. Like, you walk around here, and it's kind of like going in a nice area in Jersey or Pennsylvania or Long Island. It's a suburban area.
You're right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it felt comfortable in that aspect.
Okay.
From day one. So anyway, we moved down here. I get the call. They say, hey, we want you to come in and work for us. All right, well, what does this look like? Because now, like, I'm over here doing my thing, and you guys are giving me an offer. I'm like, my head's spinning, to be quite honest with you. Like, all right, we have to sit back and evaluate the situation and see if this is something even worth considering. Because, like, at this point in time, I've got money, I've got time, I've got resources, I've got software built. Like, everything's in place for Step It Up. So sit down with an advisor of mine at the time, and we literally just listed out a pros and cons list. And it was a clear winner that it was in my best interest to go accept this role. So I wound up becoming the COO of a really big coaching mastermind program down here. And I spent 20 months doing it. And I'm just grateful for it, because I learned so much, right? I learned a lot about people. I met some really amazing people. I met some complete trash humans. It just happens in life and business. Mm-hmm. I learned what to do. And most importantly, I learned what not to do.
Yeah.
And I took those experiences and I started to say, okay, cool. I see what's working here. And like, just my brain, coming from the car stereo world, it's very analytical. It's very, I call myself the integrator coach, right? It's a rocket fuel terminology. People read the book, but I spent my former years, my early career, I integrated aftermarket electronics into a factory electrical system, right? The same skill set that I use for that applies directly to me integrating new systems and processes into businesses today.
So you were ahead of the curve there again.
Yeah, it's critical thinking skills is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I went into this company and helped them go from 7 to 8 figures in under 8 months. Now, I will not take full credit for that at all. I'll never do that because I had a gangster team that worked for me. Right. I was the second in command of the company. We did some really cool things. We did some really cool things quickly. And then going back to the whole history, my cycle of working for people, like I don't do well working for someone beyond a certain point. I've never worked for someone more than 3 years. So going into that relationship from day one, I knew I wasn't going to be there more than 3 years. So 20 months in, almost 2 years, my time was up. See you later. And I got out. And fortunately enough for me, I never turned any of Step It Up Academy off. I wasn't using it. I wasn't pushing it. It wasn't active, but I had the entity. I had the software licenses. I had the systems and processes in place. What a lot of people don't realize, from a book perspective, when you brand yourself properly, right? Personal branding, there's calls to action in this book. So this book is now 4 years old. It was 4 years old in June. For 4 years, I've been collecting leads because of this book. Right? Cool.
Where can you get that book?
Amazon or head over to TomasKeenan.com, either one. And then when you go to TomasKeenan.com and click the link, it brings you to Amazon anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I'm collecting leads this whole time. I've got thousands of people as far as contacts in a CRM system. And it's like, okay, cool. I just left that company over here. I know exactly what I want to do. I know exactly what I don't want to do. I know how I want and how I can help clients because I got more experience now. Let's go build it and make it happen. So July, 10th, 12th, 15th or so of 2022 is when I transitioned full-time into Step It Up Academy again. And man, it's been a wild ass year on both the business and the personal side of things. Mm-hmm. Business-wise, like we came out of the gate hard and we were kicking butt big time. Right. And like, dude, you got to understand something. I'm a very transparent human and I just say it how it is. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent. Right. Stuff started to get squirrely on the personal side of things. And it forced me to pull my eyes off the business ball this year, right around probably January, February. That's when it started. And because of that, the business is good, but it's been stagnant for the last couple of months. It hasn't had any growth. It hasn't hit the growth trajectory that I had expected and planned and mapped out for. And the reason for that is because I've had to focus so much time, effort, and energy into the personal side of the house, dealing with an impending divorce from my soon-to-be ex-wife. Right. And it's not something I wish upon anybody. You and I talked about it. Like but this is the next piece of the puzzle. This is the next progression path, not just for me, but also for her. And going through this whole thing, like, and by the way, let me go back here a second. October 9th, which is almost a year, 2022, October 9th, 2022, I started my second round of 75 hard. Okay. Had a buddy of mine hit me up. Him and his wife said, hey, we're going in for a round of 75 hard. This is a hard driven dude, successful entrepreneur. Right. And when you surround yourself with people like that and they say, hey, you ready to roll? Let's do this. Like, you usually say yes, because when you start following a program like that, your level of output, I don't even want to say it doubles. I don't even want to say it triples. It goes through the roof. Like, you just become a machine. Yeah. In all areas of life. Right? Physically, financially, mentally, spiritually, like all of it. You do better everywhere. So, and leading up to him actually asking me if I want to be part of it, I was like, yeah, man, I'm kind of thinking about it. Dude hits me up and I was like, yeah, I'm game. October 9th, we start. So we start October 9th. We finish a handful of days before Christmas. And that right there really helped me propel and kick off Step It Up Academy last year. We did a bunch of live events. Had a bunch of people come into Dallas and just training people and traveling all over the country and helping other people succeed. It was really awesome. But part of 75 Hard, and we talked about this a minute ago, is you give up alcohol for the entire time. Now, you and I talked about it earlier, right? Like, my dad, full-blown alcoholic, has been his whole life. Yeah. Growing up and for the last 20 something years. So from the day that I met my soon to be ex-wife, the very day that we met, we were drinking, and every day in between that we drank. Now, not at an alcoholic status, probably alcoholic, but functional alcoholic. Let me rephrase. Right. So I went 20 something years and pretty much had some form of an alcoholic beverage at least every day. Right. And, from a health and fitness perspective, like it's terrible for you. Right. Inflammation, your joints hurt, your knees, like everything hurts, and weight just sticks on and doesn't come off. So anyway, get through all this. I get done with this second round of 75 hard. And it wasn't like the first round where I was like, oh my God, 3 days in, I had this life altering event. It was after, and I was like, hey, I'm kind of done with alcohol. So I finished up this second round, went back in. One of the things I craved the day after was like, man, I want a greasy ass cheeseburger, and I want myself a frozen margarita. And I went in and got both of those things at a local place. And when I got done with it, I was like, yeah, it ain't the same, man. Like, I don't have the same wanting, the same yearning for that junk food. And that's when things like really started to change. And I said, you know what? I'm going to just pause on this whole alcohol thing for a while. So since about February of 2023, I've been sober, right? And it's enabled me to go into this past year with a really clear mindset. And I also, going through knowing that something was about to pop off on the personal side of things, I didn't want to come out a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years later and say, man, I made some poor decisions because I was shit-faced or drunk throughout that term. Like, no. I'm of the best mental clarity I've ever been in my entire life right now. And therefore, I know that I'm making the right decisions.
Now, when you say you're making the right decisions, you're referring to your divorce and
yes, I'm making clear decisions based upon that.
Okay. Yeah. So if you were still drinking and you made this decision, you would probably second guess yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Or go back into the patterns and just kind of settle for what was, it's okay, it's good enough.
That is hard for someone who wants to be better than average.
Yeah.
So I guess my question on this whole thing now is, as you're leading up to your impending situation, do you have any regrets now? As far as regrets as how hard you pushed where you are now. You're now in your 40s?
Yeah, I'll be 44 on Sunday. I'm a couple days out. So I don't have regrets from that aspect. Like I think I've made the best choices based upon the best information I had at the time. One thing that I wish that I would have known sooner is to have the confidence and the clarity and the ability to communicate better, especially on the personal side of the house. Right? Like business side, like you're forced to communicate often in business. Like whether you want to or not, someone going to call you on your shit. You got to go have that tough conversation. And I would show up for that, but I wouldn't always necessarily show up for the personal conversation. And that's on me. Right? I got nobody to blame on that but me. And I wish that I had come to that realization sooner, because maybe this wouldn't have gone on for 20 years. Like I've been with this woman now. I still love her to death. Like she's still a kind-hearted person. She's the mother of my 3 kids. She's an amazing mother. She takes great care of them. Or she's an intelligent woman. She's a beautiful woman. We just got to a point where we're not the good match for each other anymore. And I wish I had realized that a bit sooner, because maybe I robbed her from a couple of years of her life where she could have gone out and done something better for herself earlier.
You know what? You saying that, I 100% was how I felt with my wife, because she was very young. She's 8 years younger than me, or 7 years, and I felt that she really didn't have an identity. She was the bagel guy's wife, and I felt too that I robbed my wife of her youth, because you remember, she turned 18. We started dating.
Yeah.
Was there tension there when we were working together? Yeah, I kind of had a feeling she liked me, and she had a feeling I had liked her. You know, and here's your boss.
Yeah.
You know, and we kind of were like, and now that I look back, I say the marriage I'm in now is true love. That's true love. Before, I felt that it was more like she loved what she had there. It was cool. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But then, you know, she really hadn't lived her life. And And I think, like you said, you kind of robbed her from. I
Yeah.
felt I robbed my wife. I said, man, maybe it was wrong. I don't know, but we have two beautiful kids, and that's awesome. We go to the games together. I get along with her boyfriend great. Her boyfriend is a great guy. She gets along with my wife, but I think that I robbed her for that years. So yeah, that's that I feel what we're saying, man. I wish it would have been a little bit better that way, and that being a regret too.
Yeah. She sacrificed a lot, right?
Mhm.
I mean, like we
Oh
all
yeah.
sacrifice in life, right? But she
Mhm.
definitely sacrificed a lot. She's an educated woman. She's a school psychologist. Before we had kids, she spent 10 years as a school psychologist in New York. We started having kids, and she started slowly like backing out of work. Because you got to understand something here. I got 3 kids, but she only been pregnant twice.
Yeah.
We went for kid number 2 and got 2 and 3 at the same time. So when that happened, we made the conscious decision together, like, hey, I don't know how we're going to do this, but here's the deal. And you understand this as a parent, especially in the Northeast. All right, cool. You want to go and work and make a couple bucks at your job, but we got all these kids. So whatever money you're making at your job is going to go and it's going to directly pay the daycare or whoever's taking care of the kids. And
Oh
someone else raises your kids, by the way, when that happens.
yeah.
Right?
Daycare in North in New Jersey and New York. That is unbelievable.
It's a racket, bro.
It is the amount because I was telling my brother about this because he's got 3 kids and he lives in Dumont, New Jersey. He got 3 kids and I was like, yeah. He's like, what do you pay for daycare? I'm like, I don't know, $20 a day. He almost jumped off the cliff. He was about to go to Richfield Park and jump off. He's like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just the way it is here. It's $20 a day. He's at least $3,000 a month, at least in daycare or more. I can't believe that. And then never mind the $14,000 school taxes a year. There, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So there was that pressure on your wife.
Sure.
That she's working, she's making money, she's contributing to the house, but then it just goes all out.
Yeah.
You're building your business, and truth be told, there's ups and downs in business. Absolutely. I could honestly tell you, there's times I don't take a check. I'm like, I'm fortunate in the situation I'm in.
Yeah.
But when I was going through it, and you were just opening that business, you kind of need the check.
Yeah.
So you're out hustling. Hence, time for money. That is just a hard thing. So now I want to bring you into what's going on now. A question that I'd asked, that a friend of mine had asked me to ask you.
Sure.
You're saying it's time for money and see what's going on with your relationships and what have you. Okay. He wants to open a business. He's like, I want to get into a business. I want to do this. I want to do this. There are 2 school of thoughts right now going around.
Okay.
There is the Dave Ramsey. There is the Grant Cardone. Okay. Now here's where I'm at. I'm in the middle somewhere because I don't have debt. I don't believe in credit cards. I just don't.
Yep.
But how am I going to build my business? You're talking about 10x in your business or whatever. Grant Cardone's like, no, I'm fortunate. Yes, I don't have a mortgage. I don't have car payments. I get that. That's cool. That's a protected area I'm in.
Yep.
But if you're going to open up a business or expand your business, let's say Georgie Bagels wants to get 10 stores. You can't possibly do that without capital.
Correct. That's where the debt comes in.
I will not get another partner. Absolutely will never do that again. As someone who's a business coach, as someone who sees multi-million-dollar businesses, how do you do that? Or how do you tell someone who's a younger guy who hasn't been through what we've been through? How do you 10x a business or even start a business without debt? And
you got to grind.
Also, is it advisable to do that right now?
Yeah. You know what? There's no better time than now, right? Like stop waiting for the perfect moment because it just doesn't exist, in my opinion. So if you got the itch, you want to do it, stop waiting for the perfect economy, stop waiting for the perfect president, because that shit at the end of the day, it just gets started, right? Otherwise you're losing time. Here's a lesson that I've learned. And now with my current model, this is in place and I will never do business outside of this model again. Okay. And I'm being dead serious. One of the hardest lessons I learned with my installation company was we would go and sell these big projects. We'd complete the projects. We'd have cash flow issues throughout the project because people weren't paying on time. And then once the project was finished and we collected the final check, it was like, oh, we better go sell something. Otherwise, we're going to be out of business tomorrow. Right. I never want that pressure again. So I promised myself when I left that company, any other business that I ever got into, I would only do it if there was a recurring revenue model. Okay. The term here in business is MRR, monthly recurring revenue. Right. This is subscription-based businesses. There's books and trainings on it all over the damn interwebs. Go find something, educate yourself on a different model, because there's a bunch of different models in the monthly recurring revenue space. But now it's like, cool, you want to come work with me in a coaching capacity, or you want to come and join the mastermind group. We have a 6-month minimum, right? Starts at $1,000 a month and goes up from there, depending upon what you want in your package. Oh, and by the way, it's recurring. So when you fill out this form and drop your credit card information in there, it's going to come in, and every 30 days, it's going to whack your credit card automatically. I'm not even have to think about it, nothing. That is a monthly recurring revenue model, right? This is one of the things that I learned the beauty of when I was running that other coaching mastermind program. Oh, I see what's going on here. So now what it allows you to do from a financial perspective is do cash flow projections. And if you're not skilled and don't know how to do that, cool. I'm not either. I have people who help me do that. Right?
Yeah, no, I'm horrible at that.
Yeah, but that's what a good CPA or CFO or bookkeeper is going to really help you get dialed in, right? But this allows you to say, okay, cool. This is the goal amount of money that I need to bring in per month. These are my fixed expenses. These are how many clients I need to sell in per month, per week, per day in order for me to attain that goal by this date.
Okay.
It becomes a numbers game at that point versus, grinding in the service-based business where it's like, oh man, I got to go sell the next air conditioning unit. I got to go install the next tracking device. I got to go install the next remote start. Man, it got real slow. I was real busy for a month and we did 60 remote start installs. And then all of a sudden it dried up and there's nothing. What do I do now? Right. So whether you sleep, whether you eat, whether you're sick for the day, whether you show up at work or not, you still got money coming in that day. That's the importance of recurring revenue.
So let me push back on that a little bit with that for in my business.
Sure.
So let's say a company, one of my largest companies is Bucknell University. They are a high-end college.
Yep.
Okay. And then now I happen to have a good relationship with the CEO of Parkhurst Dining. So I get 10 days, right? But my biggest revenue driver is a company you probably heard of, Aramark.
Yeah.
Massive Fortune 200 company. They have most of the colleges in the area.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when we initially start up, it is always that putting out of the 40, 50 grand for that 30 days.
Yeah.
Okay. It pays off. What would your advice be to someone who's like, okay, I'm putting out 50 grand before they pay me $1?
You don't start there the first day though.
Meaning,
like when you first, like in my experience, you get to that point eventually because in the tracking space we got to that point, right? For instance, we landed a $400,000 contract. We installed 5,000 tracking devices for the New York City Department of Education on school buses. Okay, cool. By the way, you're going to show up and here's all the product, guys. By the way, we're going to ship all this stuff to your location. And if you've never seen 5,000 units worth of electronics, it'll blow your mind. Like boxes and pallets everywhere. Okay. Organize this chaos.
Did they ship this to your location to? Hey, wow,
to our location.
Holy cow!
Yeah, it was orchestrated chaos, but it actually worked out well. So cool. We get these units. We set up an assembly line where we have a prep station because you got to plug all the power harnesses and stuff into them, put screws and stuff together. Then they would go and get shipped to the job site all around the 5 boroughs. And then we would show up as an installation crew and install them in the evening or whatnot. But the problem with this model is, okay, cool. You got this contract and they're paying you per install. So, okay, we're going to pay you $65, $75, $85, whatever the install price was, I forget it was, per vehicle, per install. When you're done, typically the way that industry works is you submit an invoice at the end of the job. right? And then you got to wait your 30 to 60 days to get paid. Well, I'm not fronting $400,000 worth of labor and saying, I hate to bring it to you, but the cash flow wasn't that great in the company. Okay. So we set up a system with them where it was, okay, since this is a large project, our technicians who we employ are expecting to get paid weekly. You understand that, right? Big company that we're working for? Yes, we do. Okay, so we're gonna change the terms here a little bit. We're gonna submit invoices to you on a weekly basis, and we're going to expect to be paid within a week as well. Okay, cool. Because what this did was it helped the cash flow out. So instead of, oh, you got to wait 30 days, and by the way, 30 days is never 30 days.
No,
You
no. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a little better now because they do that electronic funds transfer. I will say Aramark is right as rain, as they are. The problem has always been with them is getting to that 30,
yes.
because all you need is one manager from either location to miss an invoice, to do it. You got to go through the whole process to finding this. And I have great relationships with the managers there, and they're always good. But it's always that chasing, getting this stuff together. And if you don't have the books together to do it, and I'm fortunate that I do, you're missing money everywhere. You're like, what the hell?
That was a big challenge for us because we spent so much time in the field. My ex-business partner and myself, we spent so much time in the field doing the work that the cash flow cycle got screwed up because we were so busy doing the work in the field that we couldn't get back to the office and spend enough time in the office to do the invoicing in a timely manner. So basically the way it worked with us was, okay, let's say I show up at your location. You got a couple of trucks. We install 5 tracking devices for you. I get back to the home office that day. I go into QuickBooks. I create the invoice and I send the invoice to the GPS company, not to you, to the GPS company. The GPS company receives it. And now the countdown starts. We got 30 days until we get a check in the mail.
In the mail.
Yeah. Or they sometimes they would give you credit cards. Sometimes they would give you electronic funds, but a lot of them were sending checks in the mail still. This is the 30-day game. So the 30-day game starts the moment you submit the invoice. So now what happens when you've got a 100-unit project going on? You've been in 3 states over the last 3 days. You got, a repair over here because one of your guys, screwed up a vehicle and you got to go fix that one. And you're running around. And now you're 5, 6, 7, 10 days after you did the work. Now you submit the invoice. You just cost yourself 10 days on that 30-day cycle.
Right.
You just killed your cash flow, home slice.
So really your model when you're doing it, you want these things to be seamless. We call them Swiss dollars, sales while I sleep soundly. So you want to have that streamline, just keep continuously going. So if you, as the business owner, which I do all the time, and I know it's stupid, but I'm just one of those fanatical guys. I want to see the invoices. I want to see it. I don't know why I do it. I just have to see it. What you do with that 100 job, honestly, I'll tell you, I had about 4 hours sleep the other day. I was here. I'm fortunate to have a shower and a bed and everything in my office. But there's times you would be tired to do the invoices and you don't realize it because you're so into the work that you don't do it. And that's something you're putting a stop on. You're saying, no, this is going to be one of my things in my business to make my stress level go down. And I ain't chasing money.
Yeah, I'm not chasing it like that. Yeah. And now it's all automated at this point in time. We use credit card processors. We use Slack, we use CRM platforms, and they're all built and integrated to each other. So let's say you hit me up, you're like, all right, Tom, I'm ready to work with you, level 3, one-to-one client with you. It's $5,500 a month. Cool. I'm going to send you a payment link, right? And that link, it's a landing page. It outlines everything that you're going to get. There's a contract in there. And at the bottom of the contract is enter your credit card information here. Cool. Drop your credit card information there. Boop, press send. It hits my credit card processor. Right? At the same point in time, it also fires off your onboarding in my CRM platform and sends you all your logins, access, welcome email, welcome package. Hey, fill out this form because we need detailed information from you to really help you out the best way possible. All that stuff happens. And now you're also on a 30-day cycle on the credit card processor. So every 30 days, you're just going to whoop, it's gonna whack your card. But it's also notifying me in real time on my phone when your payment comes over.
How long did it take for you to get to get that? I mean, that seems complicated. It does. Like, holy shit! You have your phone's going off. You're getting 5,500. You got this. Like, how long did it take you to build that process? Because that doesn't seem something that I could do overnight.
It's definitely not something you can do overnight. It's definitely something that I learned. So one of the things that I hit hard with in the installation company, we got to a point where it was like, okay, we're doing everything manually here. We at the time we had, I don't know, 7, 8 technicians on the road, and we were giving anywhere from 3 to 5 service calls a day to each technician.
Right.
We were manually sending an email with all of the contact location details, scope of work, all that stuff to each individual technician every evening. And bro, it was brutal. It took hours of time. Like, there's got to be a better way, right? Like, I would literally sit at the time I didn't even have a home office. I was sitting at my kitchen table at home, my laptop open, typing out these emails and organizing this chaos. Like, there's got to be a better way. So started looking at things, and again, this all goes back to coaching and consulting. You don't know what you don't know until someone shines a light on it and says, hey, there's a better way, knucklehead. Here's what you should do.
Right.
So when I hired these business coaches and consultants to help me, a lot of them had a very big, heavy back end with marketing or systems and processes, automations. And I learned a lot of stuff from these guys. And it took me down this rabbit hole that I'm grateful for to this day, which is really software and business automations. I learned a lot about it. Oh, I see all the hours that we can potentially save if we actually put this into a software platform versus us doing it manually, right? It all goes back to what you're worth per hour, which we talked about before.
Yep.
All right. So yes, it's going to cost me $400, $500 a month for the software. It may cost me 5, 6, maybe even 10 grand to hire an expert to go build this for me. But how much time is it going to save me over the next 5, 10 years? And that's kind of the mindset that I looked at it with. And, going into that other organization and seeing how they were doing their recurring billing as well, I looked at it and said, oh, that's a good piece. This is working well. Actually, I don't ever want to use that software again because it's a complete disaster and it can definitely get done better. All right, so how do we fix this? How do we change it? And that's just one of those things where you kind of get into that world, you see what's possible, and my love of aftermarket automotive electronics is still there, but a lot of that energy has shifted gears and focused over into the marketing and the software world. Right. Okay. I'm not an agency. I never want to be a marketing agency or someone who goes and builds this stuff for people. However, this is something that we do help our clients with. I'm not going in there to build it for my client, but I will sit down and have the conversation with the client and be like, hey, look at this cool stuff that we just built in our platform because I'm up to date. Like, dude, I use High Level. High Level is a CRM that I use that runs 99% of my company. Last Monday, which is this week, I sat down and had I interviewed the CEO and co-founder of High Level, this guy named Sean Clark, and just had an amazing conversation with this guy. And the guy blew my mind, right? They're in business for 5 years. You'll understand. You'll get this as a business owner. They're in business for 5 years. The guy's a software engineer by trade, and he's done this a couple times, not his first rodeo. They don't have a physical location. He has 647 worldwide remote employees.
Holy cow.
Like, how the hell do you do that and manage it all? Like, and when you talk to him, it's all systems and processes and software, and the software helps hold your team accountable. Okay, cool. Let me learn from this dude.
Now, when you take those pieces of the puzzle and you put them and you implicate them into your businesses, okay, is it proprietary to them, or do you say, hey, I'm going to use this in my company, and are they cool with that, or are you like, hey, give us credit for what we're doing here? Let us get something.
So basically, they have a white label package. It's blank. It's like a blank canvas. Hey, these are the possibilities of what this can do. Matter of fact, we even have some training videos that you can go and watch along if you want to go self-implement. But once you go and you build in there, it's yours. It's your system. Excuse me. So that has been a game changer for us tremendously.
So back to my initial question that I was going to ask, so we can get this, just because I'm curious to where you stand on it.
Yep.
I'm looking to own a business. I'm looking to go. Do you go the Ramsey way? Do you go the Grant Cardone way?
It's a hybrid.
Hybrid.
Yeah, especially out of the gate. Look, I've tried both. Okay. I've done the Dave Ramsey. I will tell you this. People either love or hate Dave Ramsey. Most entrepreneurs are like, that guy's out of his freaking mind, because they understand the power of leveraging other people's money, aka debt or credit cards.
Right.
At the same point in time, the advice that he gives is really solid and sane for people who are typical W-2 employees.
I was going to say that.
Yeah. it's valid. I mean, his getting out of debt snowball. Like if you ever read any of his books,
I got them all.
yeah, they make a lot of sense. And I will tell you this, man. I've seen him speak live and in person. His book that influenced me the most from a leadership and business owner perspective is EntreLeadership.
EntreLeadership. Yeah, I have it here.
Fantastic book. I mean, the guy's just a stud. People don't realize, like, yeah, he's the money expert. Like, he's not even a personal money expert anymore. He hasn't done that shit in years as an individual. He's got a team who does it for him. The guy's got a company that does over $100 million a year in gross sales and has done it for years. He's got a massive team out of Tennessee.
I was there. I went to his place, Ramsey Solutions. I went there. It is impressive, and to think that that's all paid cash. I was like, how in the world? But then I look at, because my wife didn't understand it. I'm like, no, this is paid cash, and she didn't understand how it worked. But for someone who is a W-2 employee, and I take that, they're going to be, and there's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with this. They're going to be what you said you don't want to be, average. I think and I was going to do a little podcast about it. His advice is for someone who's going to be average and not take that risk. And if you're going to take that risk, it's going to take you forever to have 400 grand to lay down for your business. Because I always like to buy the building and then put the business in there.
Yep.
So the Grant Cardone way is you're going to get there quicker. But you might be on the edge there. There's a cliff out there somewhere. You just don't know where it's at.
Yeah.
And you could fall off that cliff. And in New York, New Jersey, California, and maybe even Texas, that could be disastrous. You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes.
I'm in rural Pennsylvania. The medium house here is like 180.
Yeah.
It's kind of manageable. You know, where you're at Long Island, forget about it. 800,000. You make a mistake there, you're talking millions. It could be millions very quickly. So, when you say you're hybrid, you're safe, but you're willing to take a little bit of a risk?
Yeah, for sure I am. I got no problem using credit cards. And full transparency, like, I've gotten myself into trouble with them in the past, right? But it's one of those things where it's a discipline. You have to learn and understand how to effectively use them as a tool. And that's also like, if you hear what Ramsey talks about, he talks about basically cutting up the credit cards, never using them again, and using the debit card moving forward. There are a lot of perks and benefits as a business owner to start using credit, though. And the more that you use credit, things start happening. Your credit score goes up. You have lines of credit that get open to you. You have other opportunities. If you have a solid P&L for yourself as an individual, right, which your financial team should be able to put together, and this as a building owner, right, now you can say, hey, I've done this before successfully. So when the opportunity, look, the real estate market's going to take a crap here sooner or later. Okay. What's going to wind up happening is properties, commercial and residential. This is my opinion, by the way, and I'm not an expert in this area, but this is my opinion. Properties are going to be available for pennies on the dollar. When that happens, wouldn't you like a nice stack of cash in place so you can go capitalize and buy some stuff when it's on sale? And sometimes you don't necessarily need to have that cash on hand as in your cash. It could be, I opened a line of credit 8 months ago and I got 200 grand sitting there ready to deploy at this very, very moment. Yeah. In that instance, I'm okay with leveraging that debt.
Now, that would beg to go to my next question on that. We touched on a little bit there with the economy. Your opinion, where do you see we're going? What is the pitfalls, and how can we get ourselves out of this? Because the way I look at it right now, the impending the number one thing I think that's coming. When I listened to Dave Ramsey years ago, we're talking when I first opened my business in 96, I'm 19. Every call was about credit cards. Every call, credit cards. Every call on his show now, student loan debt. Okay. Which is, by the way, not bankruptable.
Yep.
The out for the credit card was the bankruptcy. There is you ain't getting out of this one.
Nope, not getting out.
This starts on Sunday. The 3-year pause is over. Here we go. Because I know about 5 people, who have not paid on their student loan. Now, mind you, that interest is still accruing, which they don't know. And I'm like, it's still going. They're still waiting on a bailout. They're thinking that it's going to be paid off. It is not.
Mhm.
It's not going to get. It's unconstitutional to begin with, and I'm not going to get political, but you can't do it because then you got to start doing it for the SBA loans, and this. It would get to be a total nightmare.
Yeah. And where's that money coming from?
And then you're leaning towards UBI,
Mhm.
universal basic income. I mean, because you're not going to be having. I mean, at some point it has to stop. The buck has to stop somewhere. So if it would set a precedent if that did happen.
Mhm.
I get to this by saying now the values of these houses are going to come down.
Mhm.
These people who have overbought are going to try to get, like they did in 2008, get their money out of the equity. It's not going to be there.
Yep.
Here we go again, 2008. And it's the people who never didn't go through 2008 that are now the bankers now.
Mhm.
They don't see that. I was talking to a couple real estate guys. Some of the creative financing is coming back again.
Mhm.
Where do you see us going now in the next 18 months?
I hate to say it, but I think things are going to continue to tighten up from an economic standpoint. I've definitely seen it a little bit harder to do business with certain people. Some of the mindsets are a little skewed. I'll give you an example here. The first two things that I see get cut from small businesses, expense-wise, are marketing and coaching, right? Which is, it's very counterintuitive. Matter of fact, I put a Facebook post up about it the other day. Now I went to lunch with a former client, and we just had this open conversation about it. And it's counterintuitive because at this point in time, when the economy starts to do this, this is when you should be doubling down on those activities, right? Here's my theory. Marketing leads to sales, and without sales, there is no business. So if you're struggling, like, oh, I don't have any money coming in, well, get to marketing, dummy, so you can close some sales.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that may require you to invest some money into it. Right. So anyway, I don't feel great about the current economy. I don't feel great about the current real estate market. I do think, and this is stuff you probably heard before too, there's going to be a wealth transfer when shit does hit the fan here, which it will in the next couple of months, within the next 18 months. Okay. And that wealth transfer is going to come from the people who are financially sound, who have money on hand, whether it's cash or whether they've got a line of credit that's still open from a bank or a financial institute. And they're going to be able to go in there and buy assets.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to buy them cheap because they're on sale, because people are hurting. And they're going to hold on to them for a term, and they're going to turn into something that's worth a lot more money.
Yeah, and I mean, just hearing that from you, realize that you are, you have your eye on the ball. You know exactly what's going on here. You obviously, the experiences you've had in your life have really put yourself in that position where you're going to be the buyer at this point, where you're going to say, "Hey, I'm the one who now is going to pick off the people that were picking me off." Years ago when 2008 hit.
Yep.
So that being said, here, a couple things I wanted to do. The last thing I wanted to do really is, I got turned on to your podcast from your interview with Jesse Lee Ward.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those interviews that kind of stuck out to me.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I didn't know who you were. It was suggested from Ed Millett's podcast to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the best single podcasts I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
It was an emotional one because you're sitting across from a woman who at the time we didn't know has 4 months to live. They gave her to October.
Yeah.
But she just recently passed September something.
So it was a year. So July 9th, 2022, we recorded. About 4 or 5 days later, I was out of that company because we recorded it in the podcast studio in the office there.
Yep.
And we stayed in touch ever since. And just recently, a couple of short weeks ago, she passed, and just blew me away. Like, I'm not one to really get emotional in certain things, and I've cried more about the death of that woman than I can tell you about.
You know what was crazy? Like, you looked at her, she was beautiful.
Yeah.
34 years old, beautiful. I'm like, so I'm thinking this podcast is going to be about how she beats this cancer. Mm-hmm. And she's like, no, I only got a couple months left. What?
Yeah.
That was one of the best put together podcasts I'd ever seen. And I've seen a ton of them. Mm-hmm. That one and the one with Ed Millett, obviously with her. Yeah. That is an emotional podcast. And I implore anyone who wants to see a good podcast and see someone who, the strength that woman had and how you put that podcast together, kudos to you. And that was one of the best I've ever seen. And I implore everyone to go to that podcast and look at that. It's tremendous. And that was one of the things that right after that is when we reached out to you.
Yeah.
Very well put together. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. But we could sit here and talk for hours. I mean, the way, I mean, you look at it now, 2 hours.
Yeah, we're 2 hours and 17 minutes deep, man.
Holy cow. Jeez. It was just a flow that I had with you. I knew when I first talked to you, and I heard your stories. I looked at your podcast. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
number one, we got a lot in common. Number two, we're alphas. Number three, we're from the East Coast. You're a little further there. I'll take that. We'll take it. It's fine. You're still a New Yorker to me. But we have a lot in common.
Yeah.
And then when I saw your podcast, and the initial thing that was said was some stuff at home, personal, I knew right away what was going on.
Yep.
I had that connection with you today. I did. I really did. Even when we first got on, I said, man, I'm going to talk to this guy for a while. Because I knew what I was getting into here.
Yeah.
I know I was getting to a guy who's a business guy, who's very successful, who has the drive. Didn't know you were Puerto Rican. Right back at you, buddy. Right
Most
there.
People don't, man.
I thought you were Irish to begin with.
Yeah.
You're Irish. I said, okay, maybe he's an Irish guy. But then when you said Puerto Rican, I said, holy cow. I want to say it was a pleasure to have you here on the podcast. It was for me. There's certain times in your life when you realize that what you're doing for other people and getting it out there is a good thing for you. You realize in your life that, okay, maybe I'm not the greatest podcaster. I'm just a dumb bagel guy that just happened to land into this thing. But that be able to speak to people like you and we had Rita Gigante on a couple weeks ago, and I mean, just the people, Bo Orlando, a former NFL player. I'm honored to have you, and it's been a lifelong dream for me to do something to communicate to people. And I wanted to thank you for coming on. And if you have any social media that you'd like to get out there, obviously your book, your author, it's something I've always wanted to do, but I haven't got there yet because I always feel that my story just isn't complete.
Oh, it's never complete. Look, man, I had to end it at some point, but we know what that does. That leaves us room for the next one. And I'll give you a quick story on that book. So I started the second book about 1.5 years ago.
Okay.
And the story changed in the middle of me writing the book. And, wife was going through some health stuff, was getting squirrely at the last organization, didn't know what was going on over there. And I said, hey, I got to pause this over here and go live some more life so I can go and tell this story. Right. And when we tell stories, this is something I learned from a really close dear friend of mine. Right. We need to tell stories from the scar and not the open wound. So when it's too fresh, don't go out there blabbing your mouth about it because you're going to come out all emotional. You might say some things that aren't the right thing and blah, 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 blah. Go and heal. Get yourself get that scar scarred up and scarred over, and then go and use it and go and teach and help other people through your experiences.
That's powerful because boy, oh boy, I was going to write a book and it wouldn't have been a good time. So good thing I didn't. At the time I was too busy to even think about it. But I look back at it now, and I could say I blame myself too.
Yeah.
And by you saying that, it makes a lot of sense. It shows the kind of character you have. It shows the kind of person you are. And I look forward to continuing this relationship, getting you on again. I'd love to be on your podcast.
Sure.
And we could just discuss this and go on and on. But again, give your social out, give all your social media, how they can contact you if they want to do any of this stuff with you.
Real simple. The best place to connect with me is connectwiththomas.com. It's a webpage that pops up and literally has all of my contact information here. It's got my phone number. It's got my business. It's got my email. Got all my websites. Got all my social media links there. That's the best place to go. Connectwiththomas.com.
Good. Again, Thomas, thank you for taking your time. You did not have to do that. I know you're a busy guy in the middle of moving and stuff like that. But again, I appreciate it. Anything you need from us on our end, we got your back, buddy. Okay.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. It's been a great conversation today.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching the Zapata Brand Podcast. Please subscribe to the podcast and listen where all podcasts are available.